Welcome back, Life Sciences, from your short little break. As I say to you, always important. Get up, shake those legs, shake those arms, get the muscles going, get the oxygen going, because that's what we're talking about, gaseous exchange system. Right, just to recap, we looked at all of the ways that make an efficient gaseous exchange system. We looked at the thin, the moist, the permeable, and then we looked at how different organisms gaseous exchange, because very often when we think of gaseous exchange, we just think of us as mammals or humans that do it, and we look to see how plants need gaseous exchange for photosynthesis and cellular respiration, how the earthworm was able to look at it, how the insect, and then how the fish, some organism living in water has to have a different kind of approach to how they get oxygen in and out. What we're going to do is we're going to look at a few questions that we could probably ask you on this section, right? Just small little questions that maybe could pop up in your tests and your exams, just to give you a bit of a backbone to see how you would answer these questions. Right, our first question over here, as you can see, is a diagram of an earthworm. And it says to you, study the diagram below and answer the questions that follow. Now remember, it's not going to be specifically about the earthworm, but it is going to do with gaseous exchange. Now the question is, how does the earthworm meet the requirements of an efficient gaseous exchange surface? And guys, it's just ask you to discuss two ways. So basically it's an open-ended question. There's a way that you could do it in the first one, all right, but you need to link it back to the earthworm. So I'm going to go with number one. The skin is moist. All right, so there we go. We said that moistness, being able to, right, not be dry out is really important. And when I say discuss, you must tell me the skin is moist for 1 mark. And why is that important? And that is because oxygen must be in a solution in order for it to be able for gaseous exchange to occur. I'm going with the second one I'm going to go with here is a good transport system, and the reason why is because the transport system here is quite obvious. It has a heart, it has blood vessels, and you can see they're directly underneath the skin. So what will happen is we will have a good transport section. The oxygen and the carbon dioxide will allow it to be transported to all parts of the body. All right, another thing you could have maybe spoken about, linking with the skin. Right, I'm going to go over here. Right, probably you could have also said that the skin is thin, because that's what it is. And what do we need? Because the skin is thin, all right, it's permeable, and that will make sure that it's quick for oxygen and carbon dioxide, all right, to be able to gaseous exchange. So when I look at those, it's thin, it's large surface area. Maybe that could have been another one, a large surface area. Number 4, and how do we know it's a large surface area? All right, gases can dissolve over the whole body of the earthworm. There we go. So any of those, B-O-D-Y, all right, any of those you could have discussed. But remember, when I say discuss, I mean you must give me the how it is and why. You've got to give me the 2 reasons. You can't just explain the one. Here is just simple questions that we could put out to you. The first one, how are insects adapted for, right, the prevention of desiccation? Desiccation means to dry out, right? And how are insects prevented from this? Guys, they have got that chitinous outer layer. And that is why they needed the tracheus, the whole tracheus system. That they have this exoskeleton. And what happens is their body, there's no oxygen and carbon dioxide can't get through. Can't diffuse. So their whole body structure, if you look at it, we said we've got to take into consideration what the body structure is. Now, the next question, how do they maintain a moist gaseous exchange surface? Now remember, these are all characteristics of a gaseous exchange system. And when we look at the insects, right, insects have got this tracheous system. And what happens is they have these little, right, tracheoles. So the same as our, right, the same as our little bronchioles, they've got these smaller little branches called the tracheoles. And inside their branches, it is moist. Right? There is a form of water vapor there, all right, and it's right near the cells, and the cells, all right, also have a layer of fluid around them. So that is how they are able to have that gaseous exchange system that is going to be moist. As we said, very important part of an effective gaseous exchange. Okay, guys, now this is quite a, I'm not going to lie to you, it's quite a challenging question that we've put in here, and it's a question on the fish. Now let's read what it says. Fish have gills, right, from which blood rich in carbon dioxide diffuses from capillaries. And here we see with a diagram, they've got the gills. All right, it says, so the carbon dioxide diffuses from the capillaries in the gills in the water, passing over, all right, the gills. So what happens is we're looking at this whole concept that oxygen is going to go into the gills and the carbon dioxide is going to go out. So here we have, the next is the diagram, shows the way in which water flows over the gills. So we have the concept, I'm explaining the concept because it's going to be interesting or important when we look at the questions. So the water comes in, all right, the mouth is open, and the gills over here are going to be, well, the opercular cavity is going to be closed. And then what happens is when the mouth closes, those gills are going to go open and the water is going to go out there. Now we have a diagram where we link. The graph below shows the changes in pressure, all right, in the buccal. Now what does buccal mean? Buccal is another word for mouth. So over here, this buccal is going to be mouth. Okay, and the opercular cavity. So we're going to have one here is the mouth, and two is going to be the opercular cavity over here. So that's this part when it opens and closes. So basically what is going to happen, guys, is when the pressure, when the mouth opens, the pressure is going to increase, all right, in the buccal cavity, and when the mouth closes, the pressure is going to increase in the opercular cavity. But we're going to have a look now. Okay, now we need to explain. It says, use the graph to explain the relationship. All right? It doesn't ask you to explain what is happening. It's asking to see, do you see a relationship between, or a trend, all right, or another pattern, right? That's how I often say that you can use it, between the pressure in the buccal cavity and the pressure in the opercular cavity. Guys, have a look over here. All right, so the pressure is very simple. When the pressure in the buccal cavity rises, so does the pressure in the opercular cavity. And when the pressure in the buccal cavity decreases, so the pressure in the opercular cavity decreases. So they have a direct relationship with that. How would I write it? Very simple, as pressure in the buccal, I'm just going to put the BC, cavity increases, so does the pressure in the opercular cavity increase. Right, quite a difficult question that is going in there. All right, so guys, I'm afraid That is all we're going to have time for today. So please go over your notes again, make some summary notes of what you need to do. What was our main focus today? Very important. What are the requirements of a gaseous exchange system? All those points were really important that you were able to understand them. And can I use those points in any kind of organism or system that I'm given? Can I see how each of them is going to be efficient? Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Until next time, cherry bye.